So guys, the Crawford-Pacquiao fight was obviously a fight before the Khan fight people were talking about. And many people said, oh, the fight couldn't be made. And Pacquiao wanted $20 million for that fight, to fight Terence Crawford. And now we know that there's no way that that fight could have happened with Pacquiao wanting 20 million. I think that was a fair amount that Pacquiao wanted for that fight. I believe for Broner, how much did Pacquiao get paid? $10-15 million? For a fight with Crawford's obviously a lot tougher than Broner. You would expect around that much. I don't even think he was being unfair. The problem is Crawford's so much not of an... Like, Pacquiao's a name. However, Pacquiao's not the draw that he was once because of the fact that he's older and he doesn't have the same pulling power, because people know that Pacquiao's past his prime. He still has a lot of pulling power and he still has a lot of fans watching him, but he doesn't have the same kind of pulling power that he once had. But I don't think the fight could be made with Pacquiao wanting 20 million, because I just think Crawford can't draw that. We saw against Khan, they paid Khan $5 million. And I don't think the Pacquiao-Crawford fight is so much bigger than the Khan-Crawford fight. I think it's bigger, but it's not so much bigger that you could pay Pacquiao $20 million. And that's why I just don't think the finances work. And that's why Bob Arum didn't make the fight. Otherwise, he would have made the fight. He would have paid Pacquiao 20 million, because I think Bob Arum would be quite confident that Crawford beats Pacquiao. So he would want to make Crawford into that, and he into that crossover star. And he'd probably think by putting Pacquiao's name on Crawford's resume, he'd probably be able to do that. But if I'm honest with you, I just don't think the fight's big enough where Pacquiao could get what he wants to get. And Pacquiao could fight a lot, like guys like Thurman, who I believe is a bigger name than Crawford, and probably not as tough a fight as Crawford, and could probably pay him a lot of money. So I think, unfortunately for Crawford, the fact that he's had a poor relationship with the media and the fact that Crawford's not been able to get his name out there is haunting him in getting these big fights, because he's not a name. He's not a name. He doesn't have a huge fan base. He doesn't have pulling power, and that's stopping big fights from happening. You know, if Crawford was a huge draw, right? And I'm not saying Spence is a huge draw, but I believe Spence is a bigger draw than Crawford. I just don't believe Crawford is able to get these big fights, and he's probably going to continue struggling to get these big fights. So it's a case where where's Crawford going to go? Who's Crawford going to fight? Because, you know, he'd have to overpay these guys, and he'd have to take less money, Crawford, to get these fights. Pacquiao, for me, was not asking for a ludicrous amount of money for that fight, because you got to understand, Pacquiao's probably getting paid in and around that anyway for every fight. So for him asking $20 million for a Crawford fight, which is against one of the best fighters in the world, it's definitely not unfair, you know. But if you look at the fight that Crawford just had with Khan, he just paid Khan $5 million. Now, Khan obviously doesn't earn the money that Pacquiao gets. He doesn't get per fight what Pacquiao gets. However, you know, the Pacquiao and Crawford fight is not so much bigger than the Khan fight, where they can afford to pay Pacquiao almost $15 million more than what they paid Khan. They just can't, you know. The fight's not big enough. Crawford's not a big enough draw. He's not a big enough name. And for Pacquiao, the fight's too dangerous. It's too dangerous. It's too risky to take a fight like Terence Crawford. For, you know, chicken change to Pacquiao. Yeah, maybe they might pay him 10 million or so, but Pacquiao wants 20 million for that fight, because he knows that he can make that other kind of money fighting Broner. He might have made $12 to $15 million fighting Adrian Broner, a fight which he knew wasn't much of a risk, a fight that he knew he'd probably win. Whereas Crawford, it's a fight that he'd be an underdog in. It's a fight against one of the best fighters in the world, and it's also a very dangerous fight for Pacquiao. So why would he not want $20 million? I don't think he was asking for a ridiculous amount of money. A lot of people criticised him, or Crawford criticised him, he was pricing himself out. He's not. Pacquiao makes that kind of money. Pacquiao's a drawer in the sport. Crawford, unfortunately, isn't. So Crawford's in a situation where he needs to overpay guys in order to get these big fights. If he wants to fight Pacquiao, he's going to have to overpay him. That may mean that he has to take a pay cut himself. And he'll have to keep doing that until he puts himself in a position where he is a draw. Because otherwise, he's not going to get these big fights. He's not going to get these fights with the other PBC guys. So Bob Arum might have to pay these guys like Danny Garcia, Pacquiao, and all ridiculous amounts of money because of the fact that he's got no one to fight. He's going to have to pay these guys ridiculous amounts of money. So, you know, you feel for Crawford, but at the same time, you know, his poor relationship with the media has probably played to his downfall. And also the fact that he's in a long-term contract with Bob Arum, that's not helping him, you know, getting where he needs to be. So, you know, you got to feel for Crawford. However, I do feel that it's, you know, a long way back for Terence Crawford. You know, it is a long way back. But leave your thoughts, guys. How do you think Crawford's going to make these big fights? He's going to have to start paying these big names big money. Big money. But leave your thoughts, guys, in the comment section below. And guys, remember to please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. I'll see you guys in the next video.